Thank you, Shocks. I mean, what an extraordinarily convincing win there for Fnatic right out the gate. Has to make them feel good about at least their chances in this group, securing the first seed above the second and really setting themselves up well for the quarterfinals.
I like what Yellowstar was saying about the draft, that they really wanted to shut down the top lane. So by taking the Shen support is another pick that really hinders the aggression from the top lane. So Riven could never really all-in that Hecarim pick, and they played a style where they just pushed all three lanes. So the Azir can push Invictor 24/7. Sivir with Shen just pushes nonstop. Same with the Hecarim, and you just have Elise running around doing whatever they want, and you don't even need to spend that much money on warding because you know where the jungler is because you have that Elise just going everywhere. So it's a very methodical, super simple game.
Well, in reference to the pick ban, earlier we asked which lanes you guys at home thought would have the biggest impact on 518, and at Custard Cream 86 tweeted all these changes to the mid lane and mid laners and the mid laners in general, and we still see Azir and Victor, gentlemen.
I think that's true. We are going to see Azir and Victor, but just because that happened this time doesn't mean that we're going to continue seeing that. There's going to be a lot more variety, but they still are very stable mid laners, very conservative picks that you can really rely on even in blind pick situations for the most part.
I feel definitely like the problem is like IG, well, not the problem, like the idea is that like IG picked Skarner and Riven. It kind of provokes the Azir because Azir is just so good into it generally. And like in mids, it's very, very few champions that are good against Azir. It's a safe blind pick in general.
Especially against a pick comp too. And I think if we start looking at the picks and bans and what IG was trying to do, I think it's smart of them to come in with a pick comp. If we look at teams, even in Fnatic's regular season, certainly they went 18-0. But, for example, the Origin game with Xpeke on Twisted Fate, there has been a weakness in Fnatic to losing early skirmishes and having pick comps work against them. Now, in this particular situation, running an Ashe and running the Skarner for hard single-target engage with the Thresh 2, then you have the Victor and the Riven for burst damage. So the Azir is a great pick because you can deny the initiation or just reset the team fight. So it does work well here. And then that forces the Riven to have some fancy teleport flank angles and other things like this. The problem, though, with IG is that if you run a pick comp like this, you have to get to Dragon first. You need to get the Skarner Crystal down. You need to have priority on that objective and make sure there's no vision so you can set up the engage. Because if you don't get that, you're not going to win that 5v5.
I wouldn't even think it's just the Dragon. The laning phase in general was such a problem because I think with picks like that, you have to play so aggressive. You need to be the one that is pushing the enemy into their towers, and then you allow the jungler to do his thing. Kakao was farming the entire time. He got a Sightstone early. That is not the way you want to go about fighting a lot and fighting early.
I want to get Yamato in here. What do you pinpoint as the failure for IG?
I feel like the biggest problem with IG, I feel in the first rotation, they pick Skarner. Skarner is a champion that has so obvious weaknesses. And as Jad mentioned before, IG likes to play around their top lane. The first pick, Fnatic, like the Elise first pick was very, very good because it almost guarantees them to get the stronger 2v2 matchup. And with that in mind, the Skarner is a farm jungler, very weak against Elise in general, and has very, very obvious weaknesses in the shape of Azir.
All right, well, we saw, again, a very convincing win out of Fnatic here. Last thing I want to hit is just the importance of having won this first game, but also in such convincing fashion when we look towards 5 more best-of-1s to close out this group stage.
You know, it is important, and I think they played the lane swap situation very well, but at the same time, you can get the momentum off of that win, but if I'm Fnatic, there's not really a lot of takeaway from that game because so much of that was IG absolutely messing up the lane swap and giving them an insane pressure and a very good farm advantage. So it's kind of business as usual for Fnatic.
Exactly.
I wouldn't get too hyped up about it.
Well, it was a quick start for the World Championship here with a win going over to Fnatic. Now we need to step away as Cloud9 and AHQ take to the stage, but don't go anywhere. We'll be back with a look into that matchup when we return. Cool.